Another edition of What's Up World Cup with me, Avanish, for the first time this World Cup. But boy, am I chuffed to discuss the next half an hour or so with two greats of the game in terms of the experts and all the picking of the associate nations. Talking about Pramod and Jeet Vacharanjani. Thank you so much, lads, for making your presence felt, because you guys have to, essentially. But Pramod, how are we this Thursday morning?
Oh, we are awesome today. Great win for Uganda. Very happy for them. At the same time, not so happy for PNG. I mean, it was a game that I was torn as to who to support. But yeah, I'm glad Uganda came out with 2 points. You know, their first win in just their second World Cup game. It's truly a commendable achievement.
Indeed. I was just going to, of course, allude to them in just a bit, because we'll dissect not one, not two, but three games. We'll, of course, get even Jeet and Pramod's thoughts about the India-Ireland clash just for a bit about last segment. But about last night's segment, beg your pardon. Jeet, I want to come to you because, of course, Australia made their presence felt as well. We'll talk about them. But how much did you like last night's games? Can you just sum it up in a nutshell?
I think we had two cracking games. I wouldn't really count India versus Ireland as a cracking game altogether, but Australia-Oman was a really, really good game because Oman had a chance at one stage. It's just that they fluffed it up eventually. But I believe the game of the night was, of course, PNG versus Uganda. Fantastic game altogether. A thriller that went right down to the wire. But it started off on a sour note. Like I mentioned, Ireland-India was not really a big match. Then we had a decent game and we capped off with a very, very good game. So kind of pleased. I just wish it could have been better with Oman winning it. But anyway, I'll take it. No worries.
Yeah, I was watching all the highlights because I could catch pretty much only the India-Ireland game, to be honest with you. I passed out at 3. I was waiting and then I couldn't set my alarms up. But fantastic bit of skills from all 4 teams in that game, or in those games, I should say, last night. Venkat Ganesh saying hi. What about this live? Bad live. Bye. Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Venkat. Cracking start to the show as usual. Hello, folks. Hello to Cricket Daisy. Next, go catch his Fantasy Center preview later on this afternoon. And that will be giving you guys some winning tips for today's games, of course. But let's, of course, reflect about last night. And here it is. Right, so what did you guys like about the India-Ireland game? Hardik Pandya, of course, did well. Bumrah got the man of the match, and I mean, essentially bowled 2 not-off deliveries, 1 Yorker, 1 pretty much hitting the batsman on the badge of the helmet, and of course, looping to Kohli. But regardless, India clinical. Pramod, I'll start with you. Just from an Indian lens, it was just a comprehensive win.
Yeah, it was as comprehensive as it gets. Great start with the ball. I think that really set it up for the batters. Not much, 96, 97 on the board on a tricky surface. There was, of course, I think India conceded probably another 10, 15 more runs in the end with Garrett Delaney and Josh Little really taking on the bowlers. But overall, a pleasing performance by the bowlers. Good to see Bumrah back. Good to see Rishabh Pant hit those reverse sweeps of fast bowlers that we missed for last year or so. So yeah, overall a great way to start the tournament, and good build up for the game against Pakistan, I guess.
It gave us a lot of insight as well, Jeet, about the pitch. And yesterday was, of course, a little spicy one in Long Island. But I want to ask you about the Irish. Were you surprised about some of the shot selection, some of the approaches they were adopting in that little spot of ball? I understand they want to play counter-attacking cricket, but it really didn't look good for them. So a word on Ireland?
Yeah, you're spot on that. The pitch was, of course, not so good, but I believe that the Irish batters didn't help themselves with the kind of shots that they played. And the tone was set by the skipper himself, Paul Sterling. He was the first to get to fall. And if you look at his shot, it was a cross-batted shot that he went for. He got a top edge, and rest was history. What followed thereafter were quite a few batters playing some weird shots, which really didn't make sense. Maybe let's take George Dockrell, for instance, just moving away from the line of the stumps and just going for an ugly pull shot, getting a top edge, getting dismissed. And we saw quite a few batters eventually falling for that. The innings also ended in perhaps an appropriate manner where it was a very, very clueless run out altogether between Garrett Delaney and Ben White. So it kind of summed up the kind of an innings they had. Yeah, the pitch was not good. Indian Pacers were bowling quite well as well, but I believe they could have adjusted well to it. Maybe they could have shown a bit more application with the bat, which was kind of missing with most of the batters. Even Andrew Balboni, that was a weird shot as well. So a part of the blame does go to the pitch, but I believe the Irish batters also didn't help themselves eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it was something to think about from an island perspective. Go back to the drawing board. Even though it's their first game, they still take on two relatively easier teams in the next couple of games before the Pakistan game to round up their group fixtures, right? Imtiaz has a random one, but if you're enjoying our content, watching for the first time from wherever, Imtiaz, please subscribe. And you do ask a good question. I know Bangladesh are not playing tomorrow. They're playing tomorrow, are they, guys? When are they playing? Because
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow night.
okay, it's tomorrow night. But we did see, of course, Bangladesh in that warm-up clash against India. And I really like Mehmedullah, not just for his juggling act of a catch in the boundary, but dismissing Rohit and, of course, his little batting cameo that went in vain, unfortunately. So questions about Bangladesh, and I understand that. We will, of course, address them at the end of the show if you can just be patient and wait and just have a look at what we're going to discuss in the next few minutes or so, because it's about last night, literally, for all you guys waking up late on in the Indian subcontinent, because PNG Uganda, sensational game. I mean, I'm so chuffed for the men in yellow. We'll just, of course, reflect it in terms of the summary first, just to give you an indication of what went out. Do not, of course, check your graphics, because it's 77 all out is what PNG mustered after they were inserted in by Uganda. And I think Brad Masaba didn't hesitate one bit to bowl first. And then they were 6 for 3 in the run chase, guys. I mean, they got past the line by 3 wickets. I think Riyazat Ali Shah was dropped. 33 of 56 in a T20 run chase doesn't bode well. But even Nsumbuga, I mean, 2 for 4. He's the oldest player playing this World Cup, right? So essentially, experience coming to the fore, and Uganda just getting across the line. It's a strange T20, but we loved it because, of course, after such a historic result. Jeet, I'll start with you here. Again, what did you like about that clash? Such a strange game, but it could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way. So what I liked the most in this particular clash was how the Pacers bowled. Whether you talk about the Pacers from the Ugandan side or the Pacers from the PNG side, they were phenomenal in terms of the discipline, the lengths and the lines that they consistently hit. So of course, Uganda Pacers are slightly quicker as compared to the PNG Pacers. They were someone like Cosmos Chivuta was hitting around 140 as well. He was crossing 135 at least, which was phenomenal, and he was maintaining it with the line and length consistently, and he was keeping the batters in check throughout. So that was phenomenal, and he was ably supported by John Miyagi as well. So fantastic from the Ugandan Pacers. In response, PNG Pacers also were on point. They were slightly slower than the Ugandan Pacers, but what they were missing, so what they were not missing was a line and length. They were really, really consistent with that. What eventually did end up costing them slightly were the number of wides. They conceded quite a few extras eventually that ended up being a huge difference. Conceding over like 15 to 19 wides is not really done at the end of the day when you're defending a total of what, 77. So that ended up costing them. But at the end of the day, it was a great effort. Even PNG had a chance of winning the game. So you talked about Uganda being 6 for 3. They were 30 out for 5, and they could have been 30 out for 6 with Riyaz and Ali Shah being dismissed if the catch was not put down, sadly. So had that catch been taken, it could have been a different scenario altogether. But I guess it's a learning lesson altogether eventually in this particular tournament for all these teams. So fair enough, no worries.
Yeah, I think that was the turning point. The fact that if they swallowed that chance, I think Riyazat wouldn't have gone on to make the match winning 33 of 56 will reflect that for you, because essentially it was nudge and nurdle more than slam bang cricket for Riyazat in that innings out there. And he had to kind of play the waiting game given the fact that it was just 78 to kind of chase down. Pramod, I want to ask you about PNG and, of course, Uganda in a bit, because I know they lost to Afghanistan by 125 runs and all of that, but for them to come back and eke out a result is great. But PNG, do you feel for them? Because 78, they've done all the hard work with the ball. I think Chad Soper bowled a beautiful ball to dismiss one of the lefties of the Uganda lineup. And then, of course, losing Asadwala and Tony Ura early doesn't bode well, even if you're chasing 150 or be it 78.
Yeah, I think a few shots that they played were unnecessary. I think that is something Sadwal acknowledged after the game. I think if they had gotten to say about 90 or 100, they might have actually won this game. I think that's how close it was. But yeah, I feel for PNG, this was probably the one match that they thought they could have gotten the 2 points out of. Same for Uganda as well, for that matter. But given the way they played against the West Indies, you thought they would be the better team going into this game. Considering how Uganda performed against Afghanistan. So if you put all that together, you expected PNG to sort of get those 2 points, or at least, I mean, they put up a fight, but yeah, you expected them to fare much better. But yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be another World Cup for them without any win, which is just sad, because they're a good side, but unfortunately, when it comes to the big stage, I think across 5 World Cup games in the last whatever since 21, I think they've fallen more often than not, they've fallen well short. So I think that's something that they need to look at if they sort of qualify for the next World Cup as well.
Yeah, I mean, because you saw them in that first game against the host, the West Indies, and at a time they had West Indies really up against it. There were 37 runs required of 19 before Russell and Chase put on that little uh, finishing touches, should I say. Daniel M going on to say, boys, if PNG bowled even like 5 wides only, they were still in the game. Ifs and buts in the hindsight is a beautiful thing, but I agree with you, Daniel. And you go on to even say, imagine how strong Australia are to have Cummins and Green on the bench. We'll talk about Australia in just a bit because Marcus Stoinis was fantastic. Guru Dakshan Murthy, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, Guru, because you make a good point. Uganda performed above par, but credit should be given to PNG for keeping the match active and alive till the 15th over. And it ebbed and flowed. I mean, to be fair, no one would have thought that even though Uganda won the toss, they never thought in their wildest dreams to get what out for 77 or whatever it was. So it just makes you think how that result played out. And props to Uganda. They must be celebrating in Kampala and wherever they are. But it's literally the newest African kid on the block. And I absolutely love that in terms of the world game. Let's move on to game 2 then, because Australia, everyone's dubbing them as treble winners already. They had their first crack of the competition and they took on the mighty Oman. I say the mighty Oman because let's get them some credit, because Ayan Khan, Mehran Khan, you can see that they nearly gave a little bit of hope, even though it was a 1% hope. But Australia, too good, even though they lost the toss and they were, of course, in a precarious position at 50 for 3. But then, as you can see, Stoinis and Warner doing great things. Warner going down in Australian records again in terms of T20 international runs. Speaking of records, Adam Zampa with his 2 for 24 becomes a 28th man to get 300 T20 wickets, and just a second Australian to do it after Andrew Tye. But all in all, Marcus Stoinis is dominating with bat and ball, 3 for 19, 67 not out, and Oman having their first ever game against Australia, losing by a decent 39 runs. I don't think that's so bad from an Oman perspective. Pramod, I'll start with you here because Australia, laying down the marker, leaving some key names out on the bench like Green and Cummins. And I know it's still early days, but again, just you don't expect Australia to ever slip up, even if we wanted to, even though they lost to Zimbabwe in 2007, mind you.
Yeah, I mean, till about the 15th over, I think it was a pretty even contest. They were, I think, 80 for 3, and that 1 over from, I think, Mehran Khan, like about 26 runs coming off the 15th, I think, really shifted the momentum. And I think Australia never lost grip of the match from there. But kudos to Oman for, at least staying in the game for that period of time, the quality of Australian batters to keep them down for under run a ball for, 3/4 of the innings is a commendable effort. But yeah, I think they could have batted a little better. At least some contribution from the top 3, top 4 could have taken them, a little more closer, or could have had a much closer match. But yeah, I think right from that 15th over mark, I don't think Oman were sort of ever in this game at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was genuinely that 24 or 28 run over that Marcus Stoinis
Yeah.
hammered the shit out of Mehran, and I felt for him because he, of course, nearly won it for them in that first game against Namibia in the Super Over. Jeet, again, Australia dominant, but a lot of positives for Oman, man. I mean, you look at them, They didn't get bundled out for a cheap 60, 70, 80. They actually hung in, and in hindsight, this will do them a world of good, even though they've lost. Do you look at it that way?
It would, and even this was a game of what ifs for them because Marcus Stoinis was probably, I think, batting on 6 or 7 when even he was put down. So the situation could have been very, very different for Oman as well. Maybe they could have restricted Australia to maybe 130 or 140 since they didn't have a lot of batting to follow after that. So potentially 130, even tops of 140, and it could have been game on as well. But a good game at the end of the day. We all know the statement that Oman skipper Akib Ilyas made before the game started. He fired the shots quite early, talking about the Australian batting and them lacking the technical aspect of the game and just going gung with the six hitting. And it was kind of true as well with the kind of batting that we saw from Travis Head and Mitch Marsh and all these batters. If not for Marcus Stoinis, yeah, maybe the situation could have been very, very different. But Oman were good in bits and pieces. What really stood out with Oman was their fielding and was led by the skipper who took an absolute screamer of Glenn Maxwell of the very first ball that Maxwell faced. So
What a
I
catch
think
that was.
that was an outstanding catch at covers, which took me back to 2016 when the same position Zishan Maksud had taken a very, very similar catch. So Akib Ilyas replicated that, and that set the tone for the fielding for the night. And they were outstanding in the field, barring those drop catches, which eventually cost them. But that was again in hindsight. But there were quite a few positive signs.
I think that's the main thing. Is it like in the first game, Oman again they were terrible when it came to fielding. I think they dropped even 2-3 catches over there, which sort of allowed. Same thing with Uganda as well. The first game they were absolutely all over the place with their bowling, but today they came in with a plan, bowling wicket to wicket, just back of length, and that really worked. So it's very interesting to see how these two teams have really figured out where they went wrong, and they've really worked on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Nix was also making that little observation about Oman and dropping catches. And I generally was looking at all the games so far. We've had about 10 games so far. And we've seen, of course, the associates feature in most of them. And you genuinely feel that, yes, there have been some scintillating efforts in the field, like this catch of Maxwell, but there have been some straightforward chances. And I hate to say it, it's not like I'm probably like Jody Rhodes here, sitting here and being the armchair critic, but you expect more from them, especially with the fundamentals and the basics of the game. That's where you can probably see an upset of some sort. There's still lots to talk about in this one because, like I keep saying, Marcus Stoinis was pivotal with the bat, all right, but even with the ball, he's giving Australia a lot more firepower in their bowling arsenal. Stark delivered yesterday. We, of course, saw Hazelwood get the nod, but Cummins didn't bowl, lads, or didn't feature, forget bowl. How do you think Australia are going to be juggling their options around? Do you think because it's the relatively lesser oppositions, they wanted to give Nathan Ellis a go? Or do you think Cummins, the ODI and World Test Championship winning captain, is just going to be drinks boy for Australia this time around? Pramod?
I mean, definitely not. He's definitely going to play a part, hopefully for the next game against England.
But it'll be a like-for-like swap, right, with Ellis?
Yeah. Oh, of course, it'll be like-for-like swap. I mean, we saw Stark going off injured as well. So it was in a way good that Cummins didn't play, and you never know that if he too would have sort of suffered an injury because they've had a long flight. They've had played all in the IPL, so I'm sure that is taking a toll. So in a way, it's good that they rested one of their main bowlers, but I'm sure he's going to be back. If he's 100%, I'm sure he's going to be back against England.
Is it going to be the Holy Trinity, Jeet, Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, or do you think Cummins, if he comes back in, will come back in for Hazelwood and Ellis keeps his place because of the T20 artist that he is?
No, I think they'll be backing Pat Cummins to come good again next game, and Nathan Ellis is going to sit out. Luckily, with even mid-start, it was just a cramp because it was quite hot and humid out there. So it took a toll eventually. So he should also be fit and raring to go. And of course, Australia wouldn't be taking it so casually because at the end of the day, it's the arch rivals England. And you want to put your best side on the field and get the job done. So it has to be Pat Cummins, Mitch Stark, and Josh Hazelwood. Although Josh Hazelwood did not really have a good outing this time around because I believe he was the only bowler who ended up wicketless alongside, of course, Maxwell. But at the end of the day, you would still back that experience and you'd back someone like Hazelwood who brings a different variety altogether in the T20 format as a whole. So I think Cummins is going to be back for the next game, yeah, in place of Nathan Ellis. That too.
Yeah, let's see how it goes forward for Australia. I think because they take on England, like Jeet said, they would like to get the points there, get the job done, regardless whether Cummins starts or not. Remember, you guys are watching What's Up World Cup, and that is a brand new show on the cricket.com platform. We're doing it for all the group stages just because I know it's unfriendly, ungodly hours that some of the games are being played at. So we're thinking of reviewing the show every time at 12 p.m. And I know it's a tough hour. You guys might be in office, but catch us, however, and it is available on YouTube, and follow us on the social media handles as well. There's plenty more left in this show, including the trending portion and what's all that about. And then, of course, the trivia bit, because yesterday a lot of people got their answers right, but we'll tell you who we were referring to, and there's another Who Am I session today. Just to wrap up then, who did you guys give the man of the match in both those games that we just reviewed? Was there any other different options than what it was? Do you think Marcus Stoinis generally was worthy of the match because he turned it with that massive over Pramod and then with the ball in hand, or do you think there was someone else?
No, I mean Marcus Stoinis for me. Even if he didn't do the damage to the ball, I would have, and if Australia had gone on to win, I would have still given it to Marcus Stoinis, because he really changed the complexion of the game from a very sort of a tricky position to a completely a comfortable position for Australia. So I think deserved man of the match, I guess. But I don't agree with the man of the match for the Uganda.
I was
team.
coming to that. Do you not agree with Riyazat?
I mean, it was a good innings. I mean, it was not more than good innings. It was the innings that was sort of needed at that point. But I'd have certainly given it to one of the bowlers for sure. Probably Frank and Subuga. He bowled a superb spell. I think this was the best spell ever in a World Cup, I think, in terms of economy. So, and if you didn't know, he has the most maiden overs in T20 I's. I think that's gone up to 17 today with two more. So I think 2 for 4 in 2 overs. It doesn't get much better than that. So I would have definitely given it to him. Could have been the oldest player to win the man of the match as well. So that's another this thing for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool to note. Jeet, I'm guessing you agree, Stoinis, and of course what Pramod said, or do you think you'd go somewhere else with the second game, especially the PNG game?
As far as Torrance is concerned, yeah, it was a no-brainer. For Uganda, I believe there were many more contenders other than Riyaz Ali Shah. Frank Subuga is a name that I didn't really mind, but I believe the Pacers set the tone. So whether it was Chuma Miyaji or Cosmas Chivuta, I was happy with either of these three getting it. Sadly, none of the three got it. It was Riyaz Ali Shah, because at the end of the day, he was the one who held one end up and took them home. So not entirely convinced with that, because at the end of the day, it was the bowlers who set the tone for them. So I would have been more than happy to see one of the three bowlers getting the player of the match for this.
Okay, interesting. Nani Korfo, welcome to the chat. Western Associate countries rely, or I don't know, on their fielding. And Daniel M saying Group C might be the next tough group after Group T, because West Indies might be in trouble. Keep your comments coming through, and we really appreciate all of you guys joining us right now. I know you guys, most of you all at least, will listen to this later. And if you guys are doing so on YouTube, quickly like this video. And all you guys watching right now, like this video. It just helps the algorithm. Right, let's move on then to the next segment of What's Up World Cup, and that is What's Trending. Everywhere in social media, it is, of course, Bitstoin. I'm talking about Marcus Stoinis, because everyone is lauding the performance of not just Australia, but, of course, the other yellow team on display last night. I'm talking about Uganda, and it was really a tear to the eye sort of moment in terms of just applauding new teams entering the cricket fraternity. You see all of them on that in that picture of how they were kind of saluting their fans. Their first ever victory in the World Cup, like Pramod said, and a very, very proud day indeed for the people of Uganda. Marcus Stoinis, again, being the savior, like we touched upon. Brilliant knock, but of course, showing why he's the all-rounder in the shortest format of the game that we love the most. And finally, everyone's been talking about it. And of course, there it is. Just to reiterate, that New York pitch, how will it look on the 9th of June on Sunday? That is the all-important question, because people are saying it is a horrible pitch. It is, of course, bigger boundaries, and it has a slow outfield. So not many people are sitting well in that. I know we spoke about the first two, but I just want to get your thoughts about that venue, because I know India play Pakistan, but they also do play, I think, the US before they go to Florida to play the final fixture. What have you guys made of it? Because, of course, we did see the Sri Lanka South Africa game as well, another low scoring game. Drop in pitches, yes or no, boys? Where do you sit on it? Pramod?
Uh, I mean, based on these games, definitely no. But if I don't know how it works, but I'm sure they wouldn't have just that one pitch they'll be able to drop in, right? I'm sure they have multiple options. Clearly, this pitch, if both matches have been played on the same pitch, clearly it's not making the game that competitive as you sort of expect. So maybe it's time if available, if it is possible to sort of have some other pitch dropped in over there and maybe have a go with that. As far as these two, looking at these two games, I would certainly not be entertained, not be tempted to watch another game on this pitch for sure.
Would it be fair to say then, Jeet, that the India Island pitch was borderline dangerous? Did you see it that way?
It was, to be fair, it was a little bit dangerous because of the variable bounce. So the ones scooting low are never an issue, but the ones that shoot up are always an issue. So we did see a couple of them, including Rohit Sharma when he got injured. He was hit on the bicep, so that one also shot up. And besides that, also there were quite a few instances where the ball shot up. Now imagine facing Naseem Shah bowling at 150, Haris Rauf bowling at 150, and even Shine Afridi bowling his quick deliveries. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very, very dangerous. So if the pitch remains the same or if the same pitch is used altogether, man, dude, I don't think it's very, very safe at all.
I generally think it'll be a good game if we see in India 110, 115 against Pakistan. And look, that's the kind of cricket that not many fans would like to see, but some people, the guys who really like the devilish side of the game, would love it, especially the guys who are actual bowlers. And I'm telling you, all the bowlers yesterday weren't complaining about it. Bumrah was interviewed after his post, after the man of the match that he received the award, and he was just like, I'm not going to complain. If you give me that, I will take it and I will keep it in my pocket. So I mean, again, you let us know in the comments if you guys think that pitch was ridiculous, or do you think it's fine. Once in a while the game of cricket gets different conditions and we just have to accept it with a pinch of salt. Let's move on then, because it's time for some trivia, and you guys are very smart in the bloody comments. Let's see who won last night before we tell you who am I today. Right. So last night, I think Akshay, I keep saying last afternoon or yesterday midday to be specific, Akshay asked you all this with the boys, and he gave on 3 clues to you all. The first of which I featured in my nation's first ever T20 International. All right. The second clue, I've played alongside the likes of Chris Lynn and Dwayne Bravo. And then third, a little deceiving clue, if I may say, I grew up in Punjab before moving to my current residence to pursue cricket. So the answer we were looking for was Sompal Kami, the good Nepalese lad. I mean, Pramod, did you know that?
Actually, I didn't know. We were guessing a bunch of Netherlands players, me and Jeet. So no, we didn't. I didn't.
Yeah, I think Akshay stumped both of you all there. Jeet, were you kind of scratching your head on this?
I was. We started with the Netherlands, then we went to Nepal. But after a couple of names from Nepal, we actually got it right. So it was not the easiest one. The last hint was quite confusing. So
Yeah,
a tough one for sure. Good one.
Tough one. I can't wait to see what it is today. But just a reminder, it was Prayash Fayal who, of course, answered right. Prayash Fayal, beg your pardon. I think he's a Nepal fan, so he should be getting it right. So well done. If you are watching this or watching it later, you won the competition of Who Am I? What is it for today? Because today is another tricky one. Now, 3 clues again, gentlemen. I'll read out one by one. The first one, apart from my home country, I've played club cricket in Kenya and South Africa. Interesting. The second clue, my younger brother is also part of the current World Cup. the current World Cup. So I'm guessing this World Cup. And final clue, I hold the record for bowling the most maidens in T20 international history. Now, I don't know when did you guys join the show, but if you guys joined the show slightly earlier, you probably would have, I don't know, been smart enough to pay attention to the answer. I don't want to ask Pramod who it is. But,
I mean, I just gave out one clue just 5 minutes, the answer like 5 minutes ago, I guess. So.
but if I cover the third clue and didn't, of course, put that up, Pramod, would you struggle to get that?
No, I was the one who gave Akshay that those hints, so I will.
All right, fair play. Jeet,
Yeah.
Jeet, I mean, did you kind of ponder who it was?
It would have taken a bit of time, yeah, that's for sure. Eventually, I might have got it, but yeah, wasn't the easiest of ones for sure.
Yeah, we'll clarify the answer tomorrow, of course. Lots of people chipping in with comments. And you guys, if you want to win it, comment after the show is done, not in the live comments section, indeed. Prime saying noob. Thanks, Prime. But please subscribe if you think we are noobs. I would love that. Positive or negative, cricket.com here. This was well planned. Both have hinted at who this is. Indeed, it was coincidental. Daniel M, meanwhile, saying even baseball games are scheduled for the evening after work. Even the Windies home games don't have fans. I mean, the West Indies game, to be fair, had a little bit of fan following. Yesterday, we did see some good turnout for the Australia-Oman game. And Nepal, Netherlands was brilliant to see Nepal fans make so much of a noise. Right, we're nearly done and dusted with What's Up World Cup in terms of this edition, but we always look ahead and we do not leave you hanging this time around. So let's see what's later on the cards today. Right, so it is, of course, time to tell you who plays today. It's an interesting one because it is the United States of America again after their 7-wicket win against Canada to take on the mighty Pakistan, who have not played a single game yet. So they will, of course, open their account in Dallas in that Grand Prairie Stadium. You'll see Babar, Rizwan all on display, facing up to the likes of possibly, who knows how it's going to unravel in that one, but it'll be a fascinating one. It's a 9 p.m. watch for all those people in Lahore and Istanbul, Islamabad, who will be supporting the men in green. And then later on, it's not such a bad timing to watch the Namibia-Scotland game, which comes from Barbados. And Namibia buoyant with their super over win. And they take on Scotland, who are, of course, just pissed off with the bloody rain coming down and not having a chance to topple England. How do you guys perceive those fixtures? The US-Pakistan game, the tasty one. How we would love it if the US win that.
True, for sure. I mean, we can have our aspirations and dreams about it, but it's a rather straightforward game, to be very honest. The only thing is, okay, if the pitch is the same one as it was for the Nepal versus the Netherlands game, then maybe the USA Pacers could trouble the Pakistani batters. Also, not to forget that the USA team are riding high on confidence after the win against Canada, whereas this is Pakistan's first game altogether. So that confidence levels do vary at the beginning of this game, and conditions will again determine how it goes. But it probably would be better if USA find themselves bowling first rather than batting first against the Pakistani pastry. Otherwise, I don't see much of a match between the two sides.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because, with all due respect, I think Pakistan will get the job done. And if they don't, it's just going to be baffling and good to watch. But I'm expecting them to, of course, deliver with all the bowlers that you just mentioned that they have. Pramod, if you were the US captain / coach, and I tell you, you win the toss, right? What is your modus operandi to beat Pakistan? Will you insert them in and then chase it down, or would you back yourself with all the firepower and the men in form at the top of the order to get some sort of total and then apply pressure on them?
Yeah, I think. I mean, my first priority will be to sort of get the win. So I'll definitely bowl first here. I think this is a not an early morning start for them, and I think as we saw in the game against between Nepal and Netherlands, I think there's a lot more in it in the morning clash. And the batting got a little more easier as the day went on. It is pretty much like how you have have the grounds in Nepal. They have a very early morning start. It's very good for bowling, and then the pitch sort of evens out as the day progresses, as the sun beats down. So I think it's going to be that sort of a pitch again. So definitely win the toss and bowl first. Make the best use of the conditions. Restrict the opposition to a pass score, and then chase it down.
Yeah, because everyone's going absolutely mad on Aaron Jones, and why wouldn't you? Because 10-6 is that he, of course, deposited. Gaming saying good evening to you. I know you're watching from Canada, so appreciate your comment in this time in this show as well. Join us for more content, of course. And Daniel M talking about the form, vitamin F, as they would say, Jeet. How important is that? Because I know Pakistan have been very scratchy. They lost to Ireland, they lost to England. They haven't played a warm-up game. I think it got rained out, did it? So
Yeah,
it's not a straightforward walk in the park. There will be, of course, some snakes and some sort of weird things to come and bother them.
there will be jitters, and secondly, they have also been hit with the news of Imad Wasim, who's ruled out for this particular game. So they are short in terms of spin department as well, because Shadab Khan is not firing as a spinner. He's not playing a good support cast to Imad Wasim. So that way also they are kind of more weakened. So the onus will be on the pacers to fire. Now, against England, they received a complete hammering. Haris Rauf was taken apart, Naseem Shah was taken apart, Shine Afridi was still decent, but they are quite low on confidence, and there will be early jitters as well. And that's exactly what I was talking about, because when you compare that to the USA, they are riding high on confidence after their start. So there is a bit of an imbalance as far as that's concerned. But at the end of the day, yeah, Pakistan are an experienced unit, and they would be more than happy to have a spicy pitch, exactly like we saw in the Nepal Netherlands game. So if they get a similar pitch, then I think they wouldn't really mind it. But there will be early jitters, that's for sure. And with Pakistan, you always get them.
Yeah, you always get them. Let's see how it unravels for them, because the huge fan base that they have as well in the US. That Pakistan diaspora will be heading towards Grand Prairie Stadium for sure. Is USA getting all Dallas games, at least home team getting to play on good pitch? Essentially, I think if you look at the fixtures, we'll just bring it up right now. I genuinely feel that the fixtures found, I mean, are kind towards the US, and why shouldn't it be? Because they are co-hosts. So they play Pakistan and Dallas, then they take on India and New York, and then they go to Lauderhill, Florida, to finish their final game. So they're spreading their tentacles out, I'm guessing, and that's good for the US cricket team to get some more following across the country, not just in one venue. Nani Kaur just saying baseball or cricket all day. I don't know if you're not watching baseball.com, mate, you're watching cricket. So there is, of course, a ticker going around right now. Let us know your thoughts and comments about the World Cup, what you guys have liked. It is something where we can get chatty and discuss in terms of the best catches we've seen. We've seen some stunners that shot X to cover. The one that comes to mind was the one Hatiranga got of a South African batter as well, and I really, really like that. Who was it? Kusal Mendes?
I think it was Jarat Asalanka, probably.
Or was it
Who took that
Asalanka?
catch, right?
Yeah, I think it was Asalanka, to be fair. But anyway, that's just, of course, going on a tangent. Let's look ahead to the second game and get the boys before we wrap up and their thoughts right now. Namibia, Scotland. Do you think Scotland would look at this game and be like it's a must-win, even though they got a point out of that game against England? Pramod, I'll start with you here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this is a must-win game for both for many reasons. Of course, Namibia did their job against Oman. They would want to beat Scotland, and then hope to sort of get something out of England and Australia later on. So in that context, it becomes very important. Scotland do have that 1 point off England, so they do need to win this, and they need to beat sort of Oman to get to that 5 points, and then the last game becomes a very dicey, interesting one to sort of end the group stages on. So yeah, both teams are must win, but unfortunately we didn't see much of Scotland in the previous game. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about today. Yeah, but Namibia too were scratchy in that game, and both with bat and ball, and they really need to step it up. Otherwise, Scotland is too good to sort of to not to make the best of them.
Yeah, Jeet, Pramod just mentioned that we've not seen much of Scotland because of that rain game, but we did see their openers, and the openers is someone that was people that you touched upon who will be probably just lighting up this tournament, and they did. So, do you think in that particular venue that they're playing Namibia at, where is it? I think it does come from
Barbados.
Barbados. Similar
Yeah.
what they got against England. Do you think they'll fire again? And do you think Scotland can actually start favourites in this one?
I do believe Scotland start as a favourite, so at least luckily for Scotland it's the same venue. Whereas for Namibia it's a venue change, so it's a new venue altogether where they will be playing this time around. But having said that, the last time when these two teams met, not to forget what Ruben Trumbleman did. In the very first over, he was able to nip out the Scottish batters and do a lot of damage right then and there. So that's something for the Scottish batters or the openers in particular to be really aware of. Be careful, just see off that first over from Ruben Trumbleman and then capitalize on the overs that will be bowled thereafter. Now, I don't know about what pitch will be used, whether it's the same one as the one that we had earlier today between Australia and Oman. If it's the same one, then again, we are going to see that tricky pitch altogether. But I do believe Scotland have the resources. They've got the bowling well sorted as well. The spin department is really good. And so is the pace department. There is a lot of experience over there as well. So Scotland will be a little bit high on confidence as well against, especially after what they did to England. It was 90 without loss of 10 overs. And that pitch was not completely easy either. So they did a phenomenal job. So they'll be riding high on confidence. Namibia also won their game, but they know they were still scratchy against Oman. So that way, there would still be a few doubts in their mind coming into this game. So Scotland do start as favourites for me, and I believe they will eventually take this game because they are a little bit well-rounded as compared to Namibia.
You're saying that they will win this game, but who would you want to win? Who are you backing on the night?
I'm backing Scotland.
Fair enough.
I feel they have the resources to get it done.
Pramod, imagine Namibia get this win. That means 2-2 for them. They could kind of start dreaming,
Yeah, as I said, they need to win this to have that, give themselves a real, give themselves that chance of potentially making it through. Again, I think this match is going to be played in the afternoon. I think local time. I think it will be a good surface for batting. I'm not sure how much of, as Jeet mentioned, Trumpleman. I don't know how much of it will he be as threatening as he was against Oman is to be seen. If that is the case, I don't. I think Scotland at probably 10 for, 20 for 2, 20 for 3. I think it's going to be difficult for them to come back. Despite having a reasonably good middle order and lower order sort of batting. But yeah, I think he will be crucial. But I'd like to see their batsmen really this time step up and get some runs on the board. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the toss and opt to bat this time, put those runs on the board, and really have their batters have a good go. I think it'll be a reasonably good conditions at around 3 in the afternoon, unless I don't know again.
So generally, what happens?
But yeah, I think.
Go on.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so generally the day games in the West Indies, what we see is a lot more turn. In the night games, we don't see as much turn. So if that's the case, like you mentioned, it's an afternoon game. So there could probably be more spin on offer. And that is where you would stack up the two sides. So again, Scotland have got Mark Watt, they've got Chris Greaves, and they've got Michael Lees. Whereas Namibia have only got Bernard Scholz and Herald Erasmus. There is no Jan Nicol Lofty-Eaton. So that way also Scottish spin attack stacks up better than Namibia. So that's probably another thing to look forward to for this game.
Yeah.
Look, if Scotland win, they win, but I would secretly be backing the Eagles in Namibia to get the result. It'll be something to go into those Australia-England games for them to, of course, make a fist of this group. But that's all we have time for in What's Up World Cup. We've, of course, looked ahead and given you all our thoughts about the games later on this evening. Catch the coverage on cricket.com for the live blog and much more. And of course, check out all the features that we've been doing. Pramod has just written one about Uganda. Go check that one out. I think he's titled it Dream, Believe, Achieve. Uganda's time at the World Cup has arrived. So it's a fantastic read. It's available on the app and the website. And not to forget the other features. One's on Stoinis, one's on India, Thumping Island, and one's, of course, from Somesh, who was at the game. So you can get more perspective from that. Jeet, thank you so much for your time. Pramod, good afternoon to you, sir. And we'll see you. I'll see each other in office if you guys plan to come. Otherwise, we'll see you guys tomorrow at 12 p.m. Yeah. Akshay will be there. It's time for me to get them out of here. Cheers.